Hey, what is up guys, I'm KBHD here, and I just got back from an event by HTC across the river in New York City, which is why I have this. This is the all-new HTC One M8. So, of course, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my very first impressions of it. Now, obviously, this is one of the most leaked phones of all time, so we basically knew everything that was going to be announced, but of course, hundreds of people came to the event and live blogged the official announcement anyway, and now the device is out and in the wild and people actually get to see it. So physically, this device is going to look very similar to the old HTC One. It resembles it a lot, especially on the front because of those boom sound speakers. No other phone really does that yet, so you're gonna think it looks very similar to the old HTC One. But there are three main differences that really distinguish it from that other phone. So first of all, number one, it has a larger display. It's a 5-inch 1080p display, same awesome brightness, same awesome sharpness, but of course now it has on-screen buttons and it's bigger. And that brings us to number two, which is the device itself is a lot taller. So it brings its height in a lot higher than the old HTC One. If you look at them side by side, it makes it really easy to tell, but the phone's not that much wider. And number three is a lot more rounded off. So they rounded the metal from the back of the phone all the way around to the sides, so there's not nearly as much polycarbonate. And the overall shape of the phone is a lot more rounded on the corners. So the entire device looks a bit more sleek, a little bit more graceful, less sharp edges, and maybe that feels better in the hand. I'll probably be able to figure that out in a couple of days of using it, but it's definitely a much more round device now. But of course, because it's metal, it screams quality, and the rest of the specs are pretty high-end as well. Nothing too overly extreme here, but with that Snapdragon 801 quad-core chip, the 1080p display, and the latest version of Android 4.4 with HTC Sense 6 on top. They made a witty pun about Sixth Sense. But it's pretty obvious that this is a flagship caliber device for HTC inside and out. So around the back here, we have one of the most talked about parts of the phone. As soon as it was announced at the event, people started chatting about it. It's the cameras. So on the back here, we have a 4.1 megapixel camera. We're sticking with that ultra pixel moniker like I said we would in the What to Expect video. And then above that, we have a second sensor. So HTC calls this the duo camera system, and it's supposed to allow you to refocus a picture after you take it. So if you have something fancy in the foreground and something fancy in the background, you can refocus on exactly what you want after you took the shot and have a nice soft blur over the out of focus parts. For my limited experience though, this feature doesn't even really work very well. It actually looks super artificial in the finished results, but at least this is something they can improve in software pretty quickly since it's in the Play Store, and this new dual camera API is also public, so developers can build the feature into their own apps and maybe make it a little better than HTC does. So, but basically, yeah, a lot of people are still bummed about the fact that this main camera is a 4 megapixel camera, which is actually means the wide angle front facing camera is a higher resolution, you know, for those selfies. Now, I will be doing a lot of testing with these cameras in the next couple of days and weeks before my full review video, so definitely stay tuned for that. But right now, what I can say is they did make some sacrifices. There's no more optical image stabilization. There's now a two-tone flash on the back, which I have to experiment with. I usually don't use flash on my cameras anyway, but it's there. So there's a lot of things I need to figure out. But what I gotta say is, when I was taking pictures with it in New York City, in the viewfinder, while I was taking the pictures, they looked great. They looked fantastic. It was very high frame rate. It looked like the shutter was really, really fast to fire. The autofocus was extremely fast. That was excellent. But then looking at the photos afterwards, after I took them, they resembled the same as photos from the old HTC One, which is okay. It's not particularly high resolution, but obviously, like we said, it's much better in low light than the typical camera, even though it doesn't have OIS anymore. So we'll have to play with this a lot more. I think a lot of people are going to be curious about the differences between this camera and the old HTC One camera. Also, HTC Sense has been redesigned, and that isn't really getting as much media attention because we're not really focusing on that, but this is easily the cleanest, most modern version of Sense UI yet. It's definitely still a skin, no mistaking that, but the redesign helps it stay unintrusive, and I'm liking this design a bit more than the last one. Of course, it still has, you know, the best speakers on any phone by a long, long way. I still have battery life to test. I still have some sweet new accessories to test, and even a Google Play edition is on the way. But at the moment, it's clear to me that the main focus of this phone is design. HTC knows that the One was one of the best designed phones of 2013. That's what won it all the awards. And I guess they figured the best way to capitalize on that is to continue to focus on design and creating a phone that feels good, looks good, and works well. But other than that, that's basically it. These are my first impressions of the all-new HTC One M8. Definitely leave a comment below of things you want to see me cover in the full review when that goes live, and leave a thumbs up below if you enjoyed this video. And also, there's a subscribe button below, so you'll be one of the first to see and not miss the upcoming videos on the MKBHD channel. So you'll be first to see the review. So either way, that's been it. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.